So Donald Trump has caused quite a bit of controversy with some of his recent statements regarding abortion. Oh, okay. So yeah, Trump literally clarified like right before I went live here. No cap. On Friday, Trump told Fox News that he still thinks Florida's ban on abortion after 6 weeks is too strict. Donald Trump expressly said that, and up until literally like 14 minutes ago, he had said he's going to be voting to make it longer so that there's more time for people to get abortions if they want abortions. However, now, after causing a huge rift amongst the right, he has now said he would still vote no on the measure. He said, I think 6 weeks, you need more time. Then 6 weeks, I've disagreed with that right from the early primaries when I heard about it. I disagreed with it, Trump said. At the same time, the Democrats are radical because the 9 months is just a ridiculous situation where you can do an abortion in the 9th month. So I'll be voting no for that reason. That's not even what that amendment was talking about. Amendment 4, I believe is what it's called for Florida, which would have changed the amount of time, the window of time for women to seek an abortion. It didn't say anything about 9 months. It said it would allow abortions up to 23, 25 weeks, up to the point of when the fetus is viable, and only an abortion afterwards if there is a threat to the mother's life as determined by her medical physician. What's wrong with that? That's very agreeable, right? Like, most people are not just getting a 9-month abortion because it's fun and they changed their mind about wanting to have a baby. No, usually there's some kind of a severe complication at play, and that, of course, results in an emergency abortion being carried out in the late term like that. Okay, yeah, so abortions after 21 weeks are rare, representing just 1% of all abortions and often related to medical concerns like fetal anomalies or threats to the life of the mother, according to the nonprofit health organization KFF. So again, exactly what I just said. Usually late-term abortions are only due to some kind of severe medical situation. It's not because somebody's irresponsible or just randomly deciding to get an abortion because it's fun or something. The Republican presidential nominee has come out against the Florida abortion measure just one day after he was asked by NBC News how he would vote. And what Trump said before was, I think the 6 weeks is too short. It has to be more time. I told them I want more weeks. I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. Keep in mind that now Trump has clarified. Now Trump is saying, well, I don't want to piss off all my supporters, so of course I'm voting against that, haha. Before 14 minutes ago, when Trump clarified here, this is all we were left with. This statement here. I think the 6 weeks is too short. It has to be more time. I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. So this morning, J.D. Vance, the world's most not awkward humanoid, went on CNN. He was asked about Trump's seemingly shifting approach to this abortion ban thing. Let's see what happens next.
Look, the president, I'm sure, will tell the American people how he's going to vote on it eventually, but he wasn't making an announcement last night.
So it was a grammar thing.
Sorry, could you repeat that, John?
It was a grammar thing. It was a speech thing. It was somehow some confusion in the words that he chose.
Of course, the question, although a little bit sassy, is well put, and is also a decent question to ask. If Trump says, I will be voting to make the window of time for women to get abortions longer, that sounds like you're saying you're going to be voting in support of the Florida state amendment to make the window of time for women to get abortions longer. Like, why would you say you're going to do that or vote that way? And now you have J.D. Vance up here claiming that that wasn't an announcement, even though Trump said that's what or how he was going to be voting. Of course, Trump has walked it back now, but just a little bit of an awkward moment here as J.D. Vance is sort of in silence, like, yeah, was it just a grammatical thing then? Like, why? I think maybe what this guy meant to say is semantics. Is it just like a semantics thing? Like, why did Trump say he would be voting to make the time longer when that's what the amendment proposes to do?
Senator Vance, can you hear me?
Super staticky.
Senator Vance, I may be super staticky. You may not be hearing the the loud baritone of my voice here.
So that was the first part. JD Vance pretty much scrambling to be like, look, he'll make his own announcement. I know that he announced this already on NBC News, but you have to realize that Donald Trump is the kind of guy to pretty much just say whatever he needs to say, depending on the audience he's in front of. So JD Vance on CNN then dodges a question about Trump's personal view on abortion by claiming he's more focused on inflation.
Duct tape in place. Hopefully the audio was all fixed. We were talking about Donald Trump's statement on abortion overnight, where he said he would vote for more than 6 weeks in Florida. When the campaign then put out a statement saying, yeah, but he's not saying he's going to vote for the amendment which would allow for more than 6 weeks. And I was asking you if it was a language thing, if he understood what he was saying, or if this was a shift in position.
Well, again, John, and thanks. I can hear you much better now. I appreciate you guys fixing that. But look, the president is simply saying he doesn't like 6 weeks. He obviously has said he doesn't like late-term abortion. And I think he will make an announcement on what he actually wants to do on the Florida law in particular. But again, President Trump's been extremely consistent that he's going to make this decision as a citizen of Florida, but he wants the national government that he intends to lead to be focused on national issues like inflation, the cost of housing, and the wide open southern border. He wants states to make their own abortion policy, and that will be his position for the remainder of the campaign and the remainder of his presidency.
You say he's been consistent, but of course there was a period in Donald Trump's life where he was not anti-abortion. Then he became anti-abortion, at one point suggesting that women should be punished if they have an abortion. Now he's saying he's for more than 6 weeks, but it's not clear how he's going to vote in an amendment in his own state. So that's why.
So literally the Trump campaign is trying to be like, well, yeah, Trump is in favor of there being more time than 6 weeks, personally, you see, but he's not going to vote that way. Huh?
I think people are seeking clarity. You can understand that.
Well, John, the Dobbs decision, what it fundamentally did is this goes back to Democratic legislatures and the people, of course, who elect those legislatures. I think the president has said in a post-Roe, a post-Dobbs world, he wants voters to make these decisions. I think it's important to remember, of course, that Kamala Harris has come out for taxpayer-funded abortion.
If you want the voters to make the decisions regarding abortion, that's probably not going to be great for Republicans because, as we just saw, the majority of Americans are in favor of abortion. A July poll from the University of North Florida suggested that 69% of likely voters supported the Florida ballot measure and 23% opposed it. So that's just in the state of Florida, but I know that nationally, the majority of Americans are in favor of abortion access, or at the very least, they are in favor of keeping the government out of those decisions.
Sorry, Senator, but he's a voter in this case. The reason it matters, in Florida is he's a voter. Go ahead.
Well, of course it matters what his position is, and I'm sure that he's going to say what his position ultimately is, John. But I do think it's important to say that between Republicans and Democrats have talked about trying to defund Christian hospitals that don't do late-term abortions. Donald Trump is trying to preserve some ability for the states to make these decisions.
What? I'm finding absolutely nothing about Democrats wanting to defund Christian hospitals because they won't give late-term abortions. Sounds like he got his memes mixed up there. And now, on top of that, Trump has again contradicted himself and has further brought the Republicans into another snag with him. So keep in mind that Trump has consistently been in favor of abortion being up to the states. That's what Trump wants. He wants all of this stuff, the pregnancy shit, abortion shit, that should be up to the states. That is what Trump and the Republicans have been pushing constantly. Well, now all of a sudden, Trump is saying that he wants to guarantee IVF treatment everywhere, federally. So how the fuck are you going to do that if you then think that abortion should just be up to the states? They're kind of one and the same issue. They're all related to pregnancy, reproductive issues, things like this. So it's obvious that Trump is really just in favor of it being left up to the states when it looks good for him. Let's take a look at JD Vance give his abysmal response. We'll also be debunking something stupid he says here in less than 30 seconds. So brace yourselves because it's going to be fun.
How would this work if a state, and you believe that states should have the right to make these decisions, if a state bans IVF, but Donald Trump says he wants to guarantee and or pay for IVF for everyone who wants it, how would that work if a state banned it?
Well, John, I think it's such a ridiculous hypothetical because Alabama, which is maybe the most conservative state in the entire union, has actively protected fertility access and fertility treatments. There's no state in the union, whether a right-wing state or a left-wing state, that I think is trying to ban access to fertility treatments.
And J.D. Vance is incorrect. Alabama Hospital is ending the IVF treatments at the end of the year, citing litigation concerns. This is after the Alabama top court issued a controversial ruling that frozen embryos are children. It prompted 3 hospitals to immediately stop their IVF treatments that month, as patients, families, and providers were left reeling with uncertainty over the future of IVF in the southern state. At least 2 clinics resumed treatment after Republican governor signed new protections for IVF patients and providers into law in March. That's definitely what J.D. Vance is trying to get at. The new law does not address the issue of personhood at the heart of the ruling, and experts say it's going to take more work to fully protect fertility services in the state.
And if Alabama's protecting this stuff, I think it's safe to say the whole country is as well. So,
well, but the court,
look,
but there is a court.
I think
Who's
what Donald Trump again wants to do is protect access.
Who's to say there's not another court in another state that could decide that an IVF should be banned? It happened in Alabama for a minute. You also voted against a measure in the Senate that would have guaranteed access to IVF around the country. So it's possible, right?
Oh, no. Look at that smirk. That is the smirk of a man who just got, dude. Holy shit. So now he's getting called out again. I can't believe it. So J.D. Vance has voted in the Senate against protecting people's rights to IVF treatment.
Well, two things, John. First of all, yes, a court made that decision in Alabama, and like the next second, the Alabama state legislature fixed that problem and ensured women had access to these fertility treatments. And all that
They did not fix this problem, and it didn't make sure that women have access to these fertility treatments. The new law is a quick fix after the court ruling and noted there will be more work to come.
On, John, is for religious liberty. I don't want Christian hospitals or Christian charities to be forced to do something that they don't want to do. We have multiple...
Why not? That's another question. So is that his defense? The reason he's up here saying, well, Trump and everybody, we're big supporters of IVF treatment, even though I voted against guaranteeing IVF treatment rights to everybody in America that one time. Teehee. Is his whole bullshit excuse because it would also force Christian hospitals? Why are Christian hospitals against IVF treatment? The Bible talks about the importance of having kids and having families and things of this nature all the time. There's nowhere to suggest that IVF treatment would be against God, would be against the Bible.
We have multiple Republican measures that support fertility treatment, support IVF, but don't require Christian hospitals or other religious organizations to violate their conscience. I think all of us accept that we live in a big country with diversity of opinions. We want women to have access to this needed medical treatment. We also want to make sure that Christian organizations can live their conscience. I don't think there's any tension there.
Why would it go against a Christian's conscience to give IVF treatment? That is such a pathetic reason to contradict yourself. Next question. Could you see RFK Jr. involved in health policy and vaccines? For those of you who don't know, I'm sorry that I need to ruin your day further, but RFK Jr. is a vicious anti-vaxxer. He literally believes that vaccines cause autism. The man is insane.
Effectively.
Would you trust Robert Kennedy on issues around vaccines? Could you see him involved with health policy that way?
Well, look, again, John, I don't agree with Robert Kennedy. I don't agree with Bobby on everything. I've gotten to know him. I think he's a very smart guy. But again, while I might not agree with him on everything about vaccines, I do agree with him that something is clearly messed up about our food system because we have a terrible obesity problem. And I certainly agree with him back.
Is it a food problem or is it a money problem? Because really bad junk food is cheaper than healthier organic stuff.
in 2020 that we should not be masking toddlers and keeping young children out of schools. He was right about that, while a lot of public health experts were wrong. And
public health experts were going based on science and research gathered from earlier outbreaks of other similar viruses. RFK Jr. was a loony old man in a drunken rage screaming about how vaccines are bad. If you just happen to get one little detail maybe correct, that doesn't mean that you know what you're talking about. It means that you just so happen to throw enough shit at the wall, something stuck. And again, I fail to see where was it demonstrated that masking didn't help. It's my understanding that masks did still benefit. Observational studies were included in the analysis. We analyzed 35 studies. More studies found that masks and mask mandates reduced infection than found no effect or favored controls. 7 observational studies found that respirators were more protective than surgical masks, while 5 found no statistically significant difference between the 2 mask types. Despite the ROB and allowing for uncertain and variable efficacy, we conclude that wearing masks, wearing higher quality masks, and mask mandates generally reduce COVID transmission in these study populations. And we also know that masks can help with other issues as well, and so it makes sense that they would be implemented quickly as a first line of defense against this. In the community trials of masks plus hand hygiene, influenza incidence was significantly lower in the masks plus hand hygiene group compared to a no mask control arm. This was N95. Although I've heard that the other ones can still be beneficial up to about 80% in reducing droplets from spreading. This is kind of what I was thinking. In a school-based cohort study, the risk of COVID-19 among the family members of students was reduced by 30 to 40% when teachers used masks. A systematic review and meta-analysis of observational studies reported that the N95 mask and regular masks decreased infection risk by 85%. And this study was just published this year in May.
This is my point, John, is you don't have to agree with everybody, but when you're willing to listen to big voices and you're not trying to censor people, but you're trying to have a debate with people, I think it surfaces the best policy and allows the best ideas to rise to the top.
What does that even mean? Like, we should be having a debate in the health department? Let's have Trump, J.D. Vance, and RFK Jr. all debating whether or not vaccines cause autism. You don't reach the best policy that way.
You were talking about Donald Trump's social media. Would you describe his posts over the last 48 hours as lifting people up, quoting, reposting QAnon statements, reposting these misogynistic memes about Vice President Harris and Hillary Clinton? That's the kind of open discussion that you think is lifting people up?
Oh, John, I think if you look at Donald Trump's full campaign appearances and, yes, his social media appearances, what you see is 2 things. A guy with an agenda to lower prices and bring back American prosperity, and a political campaign.
Yeah, because doubting Kamala Harris's ethnicity is definitely going to help bring prices down.
And prosperity, and a political candidate who isn't stodgy, who likes to have some fun and likes to tell some jokes. I'd much rather have a candidate who
likes to have some fun and look, dude, Trump's just a big joker, okay? He's just the class clown, okay? He was literally just joshing around with everybody, having some fun with the boys when he was doubting whether or not Kamala Harris is actually a black woman. You know, back in my day, we used to be able to say the N-word. We would even go out as a community and lynch people. What happened to the good old days of having fun as classy Americans, huh? You cannot write off Donald Trump's unhinged and insane statements as it's just all in a bit of fun.
Willing to go off script, who's willing to give every interview and is willing to tell some jokes. I do think that's how you lift people up. A politics of boring scolds.
Trump builds his entire campaign on pulling people down. He demonizes immigrants and trans people and minorities to rile up his base, to build himself up. He's not lifting people up. He's not lifting America up. And again, I will quote this, and I will bring this up. It's one of my favorite things to bring up, because historians have already weighed in and analyzed the circumstances, and they have said that Donald Trump left America more divided than America was during the fucking Civil War. So no, sorry, You don't get to write that off as just a little bit of jokes, Turher. I'm sorry, JD Vance. Right now, the only joke here is you. And to make matters worse, JD Vance then posted a meme himself saying he got a hold of Kamala Harris's unedited appearance on CNN, and the clip contained a video of a Miss Teen back in 2007 who struggled greatly to answer a simple question or to give a coherent answer. So he posted this meme. However, JD Vance is about to learn here that that girl, Miss Teen, the name was Caitlin Upton, she actually faced a significant amount of depression due to the public backlash she experienced after she fumbled that interview in 2007. So much so that she almost committed suicide. So she became suicidal because of that mistake she made and the level of criticism that she received. And JD Vance is resurfacing this thing to try and shit on Kamala Harris.
Night after CNN released a small clip of the Harris interview, you on Twitter posted a clip from a Miss Teen USA beauty pageant from 2007, Caitlin Upton, and you wrote, "I have gotten a hold of the full Kamala Harris CNN interview." Now, this thing that surfaced around the internet for a few years, she struggled answering a question back in this beauty pageant. I'm not sure you're aware, in 2015, Caitlin Upton did an interview in New York Magazine about all the social media attention this clip got, and she said, "I definitely went through a period where I was very, very depressed, but I never let anybody see that stuff except for people I could trust. I had some very dark moments where I thought about committing suicide." So when you posted this last night, were you aware that the woman you were posting a picture of had contemplated committing suicide for the attention it had received?
Also, before we even listen to JD Vance's, I'm sure, robotic and pathetic answer, can we also just appreciate the fact that he is posting a clip from 2007 and making a meme out of it? Like, I'm sorry, Boomer Vance. How fucking weird are you to go sifting through footage of the winner, the teen winner of a beauty pageant in 2007?
No, certainly not, John, and my heart goes out to her, and I hope that she's doing well. Look, I've said a lot of things on camera. I've said a lot of stupid things on camera. Sometimes when you're in the public eye, you make mistakes, and again, I think the best way to deal with it is to laugh at ourselves, laugh at this stuff, and try to have some fun in politics.
I just resurfaced this really old clip of somebody embarrassing themselves. In fact, they were so embarrassed they almost killed themselves, but, well, you know, why can't we all just kick back and laugh?
I posted a meme from 20 years ago, and I think the fact that we're talking about that instead of the fact that American families can't afford groceries or health care, young families can't afford to buy a home to raise their families in, those are the real crises that we should focus on. And there's
What? He's like, why are we focusing on this old meme? Because you just posted it. Why are we talking about the real issues? Meanwhile, he's not talking about the real issues. Meanwhile, he's the one reposting a 20-year-old meme. The lack of self-awareness, it's just embarrassing.
There's nothing that says that we can't tell some jokes along the way while we deal with the very serious business of bringing back our public policy. Politics has gotten way too lame, John, way too boring. You can have some fun while making a good argument to the American people about
Yeah, you can have some fun, you know, making a good argument to the American people at the expense of this poor suicidal girl. Ha!
You're going to improve their lives.
Okay, I just want to be clear, though. You said you did know. Would you like to apologize to Caitlin Upton for posting that last night, given what you've now learned?
John, I'm not going to apologize for posting a joke, but I wish the best for Caitlin. I hope that she's doing well. And again, what I'd say is one bad moment shouldn't define anybody, and the best way to deal with this stuff is to laugh at ourselves.
What? Everybody says stupid things, but not everybody apologizes for the stupid things they say. That's right, I'm JD Vance, and I endorse this message. JD Vance is just so weird and unbearable, he's hard to even listen to. Like, all it was him pretty much begging desperately to talk about something else. because he hates needing to answer for all of Donald Trump's inconsistencies. Well, what do you guys think? Is that, was that an absolute bomb interview for JD Vance? Because it sure seemed like it to me.